roads, schools, but they followed a very innovative approach. And the approach was, they said, today I can provide food, but tomorrow the person will be again on the road with a begging bowl. So what they did, they went to rural areas, hinterlands, where no development was there. They purchased pieces of land, identified people who will be beneficiary, and formed a community that you together will manage this farm, and they earmarked the small plots of 10 by 10 square feet. I am a poor person, I am given a one plot, early in the morning, 9 o'clock, I will reach there, and Monsanto, because they have specialization in hybrid seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, insecticides, they provide me free of cost. And whole society maintain the drainage system, the fertilizer system, and everything. So different companies, they have different perspectives. And we have 3 speakers, but they will be delving into this aspect, how we can learn. And as Paul Srivastava yesterday mentioned, try to do something which is sustainable not economically, but aesthetically, philosophically, and politically. Because of shortage of time, let me call upon the first speaker to make a presentation. And because we have started late, 10 minutes should be sufficient, I think.
Okay, I'll try.
Around that much.
I'll try. By the hospitality and the great organization of this place. So when I was looking and listening to all the presentations, now I'm given only 10 minutes, I think I'll try and I'll squeeze my presentation because I have great predecessors and great help. My presentation will follow exactly after Paul and after Dr. Murthy. So what they did, they fleshed up what I want to say. I'll go straight into the core of things, and I'll try to give you some quantitative analysis and structure of the whole system and how to judge the best. You cannot judge the best. There is no best. They all should fit together. And that is the greatest thing of the complexity system, the greatest expression that I heard from the previous speaker here was that of self-similarity. You understand what I mean, self-similarity? The company should be woven into the fabric of the society, should be similar, self-similar, should replicate the society in order to be successful. So getting to the core of the matter, what is sustainability? Is it a tough nut to crack? Everybody has their different ideas of sustainability. We have no common definition. Everybody sees this differently. From quantitative perspective and how to look at the whole system and how to measure, how to move it in the right direction slowly and nicely so we don't bring the system to a collapse. So first I want to look at the origin of sustainability concerns very briefly, and then look at the preemptive measure. What is the problem and how we can measure our success in slowing down the collapse eventually. That's the whole idea of our sustainability program. So the research part is very important to be looked at multidisciplinary, which means that all disciplines contribute to that, that we have to look at the others and learn from the others. We have to work together. That's not enough. We go into interdisciplinary studies. We don't have to reinvent the wheel for each separately. We have to work together, make the interdisciplinary field prosper, and there is a lot of research in my presentation. I have no references, researchers know, and we can talk in the future and we can refer to the greatest works in this field. Philosophy, I'll skip. Philosophy of science is very important. It was talked about, philosophy, but these are the steps: philosophy, theory, methodology. And when I talk methodology, I'm not talking methods, I'm talking methodology. So, and then briefly application to organization and management studies. So the beginning for me is our radiopatry. For the Americans will be Meadows. Yeah, Meadows' work was commissioned by the Club of where 1 million, 87 were 4 million, 2009 was 7 billion, sorry, you know. So it's the problem is that the power loss, explosive growth can create deficiencies. We are running out of space, we are running out of resources. Briefly to mention the Club of Rome, because I always admire their work. They were the forerunners, the work of Aurelio Petri, his books, his philosophy. But they first rebels against the suicidal ignorance of the human condition. But if you look at the next expression, it seems a little vague. It's kind of conveys, is cautiously optimistic. It doesn't say it's possible to foster a human revolution. It's not impossible. So it's very difficult. It conveys that it's very difficult. It's cautiously optimistic. The problem is identified as all the negative externalities of our development, and that we are approaching not only physical, but also ecological, biological, cultural limits, as we said yesterday. So what is sustainability? This is the first descriptive definition of sustainability that was given by the United Nations, Sustainable Development. Sustainability means capacity to endure, but sustainable development as a descriptive definition meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generation. Wishful thinking, how we do it, though. The other measure that I want to introduce is resilience. We can have a system that is unstable. It's not so bad, but instability leads to opportunities, leads to development. We have to have it. We don't have a stagnant system. But resilience is the ability to recover after significant disturbances in the system, on the structure and the dynamics of the system. How we do this, how we measure. Here, a quick reference to multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary approach. And the view of embedding, the economy is embedded in the society and in the environment. And then I'll show you my contribution, my view of these three parts, how they interact. The multidisciplinary approach here shows where sustainable stands on the intersection of social, economic, and environment, how we achieve this, okay? So speaking of all these intersections, we are going to discuss system thinking here, because we have to look at the whole system and not take piecewise solutions. And the whole system is complex, dynamical system. We have to define complex system, because for many people it's kind of vague. Some people think that complex is anything that has large number of variables, large number of factors. That makes it complex. That can make it complicated if they have fixed relationship. It's an engineering project. It's an aircraft has thousands of parts, but they have fixed relationships. The complex system, on the other hand, the complex system has few controlling factors. Okay, and these few controlling factors and feedbacks can organize few variables, and the way they are organized, there is nonlinear dynamics, there is feedback, and the system moves on, and at some point, very small perturbation may collapse the system, and that's what we want to avoid. And then we talk about the self-organization of these complex systems. that are maintained by a small set of crucial processes. Everyday example, self-organization, you see the birds that are flying in all directions, and you can see them then self-organized in a nice pattern, and they don't have a leader. That's the point. They don't have a leader. They just follow a few rules, few simple rules, and they are self-organized. Leadership doesn't come from above. Complex leadership is another very interesting topic that we can talk another time. And self-organization represents development of complex adaptive system. The adaptive part is also very important. While we're talking about complex, first thing is people talk power laws. Power laws are very intriguing. They are very modern. People like to say, oh, I have power law in the variables. Log, log, plot, you have a straight line. You have to do more than just say, I have a power law. Everything is a power law, although we try to do it Gaussian, and that's where our models fail. So there are two things that I want to underline here as being more expert, more fluent in quantification. This is a power law distribution that everybody knows. Power law rank frequency distribution, fat tails. Any magnitude extremes is possible. You can have 7 standard deviations of in market crashes, 7 standard deviations of daily return in terms of finance have been observed 10 million times more often than the Gaussian distribution. And yet, most of our models are based on Gaussian distribution. That's where we fail. The other interesting power law that we have to have in mind in management, it's the long memory. Power law in the autocorrelation function. And I have very hard time explaining the difference of these two. I can go over and over again. Some people with weaker background have to have in mind that it's not that hard. It's not that hard. Power law is the memory. When we have the variables arranged in time, so you can see memory in the process. That's what complex system is. While distribution doesn't have arrangement in time. It's a distribution, right? Frequency distribution that you put things together that happen during a certain period of time. So you are losing time there. And the Hurst exponent, these are the main. Once you have these power laws, you have fractals, that is fractal integration, you think about chaos, and you think about self-similarity. That's the self-similarity that any subsystem of the whole our global system should be nicely set in that self-similarity manner, should be interwoven in the fabrics of the whole system. And that's how companies and corporations can prosper and survive, not when they are isolated and only in their self-interest. So this is the self-similarity. Things of self-similarity part is very important, and that's again the complex system. So the complex system is organized in different levels, variables with different speed. And that's the topological hierarchy of a system. This self-similarity from very small, very fast variables, very small businesses, right? Then the organizations of larger sectors, industry sectors, the economy of a country, international. This all should be self-similar to work together. And here on a global level, I'm putting this lower, the first fastest changing part of this trilogy that I proposed at the beginning is the economy. The economy drives the society, then there is a societal change, and the environment is changing the slowest. So we have, in this intersection, we have sustainability. There are two main groups that I want to mention here that are working on the social economic part. That's the World System Research Group, and the other one is working on the intersection of social and environment, which is the resilience group. Everybody knows Elinor Ostrom that received the Nobel Prize in economics. 2 years ago. Unfortunately, she died last year. We lost her. So she's in the resilience group together with some biologists on the environmental and social science, which is socio-ecological research. The other group, world system and the socio-economic, and I'm trying to put together the whole system. That's the end. Okay, so the dynamics gives two different aspects, the adaptive capacity and the opportunities. Things happen in the fastest, at the fastest level, and they're stabilized from the upper level. That's how you develop the system. And here some physics. Sure enough, I'll skip. This goes into methods, not methodology, and the emergent property. Most important for here is the lessons for management. We have the levels of corporate sustainability. When we talk about financial sustainability, then we put the corporation into the system of, and we have all these exchanges between all parts of this, all units in the system. They are connected and they have exchanges which can be looked, all kinds of exchanges can be looked as exchange of entropy. And that's how we measure exchange of entropy. Entropy export, because any system that creates entropy and so the multinational dimensions, the last part, a corporation has these units that have to be, again, self-similar and managed in the same hierarchical way. And the conclusion is that the problem stemming from diminishing carrying capacity of the Earth cannot be tackled separately and independently by corporations, industries, or government entities. They have to work all together. Making progress towards sustainable development demands that we get international decision-making right, and this all systems should. And an example of failure in this area is our climate change thinking, because we're trying just to messing effect, and the most active are only UN and the Rio plus 20. And finally, we need to build resilience in the system in order to survive. Complexity defies piecewise solutions. We cannot control the system. We can just interfere to lead it into certain direction. All right? And this is what Canada has to offer to sustainability. Thank you very much. I couldn't.
The point that you highlighted, sustainability and resilience, and both are important.
Yes.
And also thank you for timely coming
Okay.
and we will have question and answer session.
Okay. Try it.
The Honorable Chairman of the session, Professor Sanjay Jain, my co-panelists, all the distinguished guests from overseas and from India, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here and sharing some of the views on this particular topic. There is a little modification in what has been written and what I am presenting, but I think it is within the scope of the session's overall theme, and that is integrating sustainability in strategies and practices. I am going to talk on M&E strategies for real sustainability. We have been talking about sustainability, there are so many definitions, but I think that sustainability is a little more than that, and there are some strategies which are important, which governments are not able to follow, and therefore the MNCs who have a lot at stake must follow. That is the essence of my paper. In governments, internationally, there was an era of Cold War. Was that for sustainability? The Second World War, what happens in politics? The sustainability goes haywire and nobody is bothered about sustainability when it comes to politics. Going for atomic age, we are going to face problems. Within a country, the political parties want to come back to power. The definition of politics is politics is the art of gaining and craft of retaining power. And therefore, they compromise on the issues of sustainability. MNCs have a lot at stake, and therefore they must do something about it. And that is what all I am going to convey through various things. The M&E goals at present, by and large, can be summarized in increase in gross revenue, which takes them at the higher level, improvement in their rank in the Fortune 500 companies. So that they say it was 10th, now it has become 5th, and 5th has become 2nd, and 2nd has become 1st. So, Paidan, okay, they want to move upwards in this, increase in gross profits, which will increase their share values and market capitalization to say that which is the richest, the biggest company, and increase in their reputation, for which they do a lot of good CSR work, corporate social responsibility, and this is something which leads to sustainability to some extent, but at the same time, this is something which can be done and should be done in a more effective manner. GATT 1994 was all M&E driven because the TRIPS, GATTs and market access, all the major issues of the round of GATT negotiations, they were all M&E oriented. And how M&Es are competing with each other now, in WTO and post-GATT regime, they are trying to do one thing, that they are competing on cost, and therefore they want to outsource from anywhere as much as possible, and that also is not necessarily going in favor of the sustainability. Will the revenue, profit and reputation considerations be enough for real sustainability, or M&Es need to do something more? When politicians engage in vested interest, M&Es should initiate efforts for sustainability, and that I say real sustainability, not just the CSR. The sustainability gets checked by accidents or nature. The Bhopal gas tragedy, Chernobyl atomic disaster, hurricanes, Rita, etc., tsunami, cyclones, these are all the things which we are encroaching more on the nature. We are going to have multi-story buildings. When we go in a flight, 20 years back we found that it was all trees were there, but now there are so many buildings are there. If we have growth in population need to have housing, and housing means encroaching on the land, the nature, the forest, everything. And if about 30 years back I calculated, at that time, if the growth rate of population continued at that level, the total land space on earth would be 1 square foot per person in 750 years. So we need to check population, which MNC is doing, which government is doing. We had Sanjay effect because of the coercion in population policies, which are all documented. But then because of that, no subsequent government ever tried to attempt to do anything on population front. It has been left, and if everybody is to provide a suitable 2-3 bedroom house, I think half of the India would be just having the buildings. But that is very much going to go against the nature. How much water we use, water is a serious problem in the nature, in the world. How much, if everybody has to have a refrigerator, everybody has to have a telephone, car, air conditioner and all these basic amenities, then how much carbon emission would be there? So we have to look at this aspect very seriously, and I think that MNCs should come forward. I am calling MNEs here what is generally MNC is a more common word. So poverty anyway is threat to prosperity everywhere. So we have to first look at poverty rising above the vested interest, political, international, national, and like that. The meaning of real sustainability I come to now, the poverty issue. Poverty is very serious problem. There has been long debate, poverty. It is in 1970s, late 60s onwards, we followed a system that the poverty removal, and it was not poverty removal, it was poverty alleviation. And poverty alleviation was redefined further, the reduction in disparities between rich and poor. And rich and poor, you cannot lift the poor up, therefore check the rich. And that resulted in serious unemployment problem in the country, and large number of successful companies now, those people who become entrepreneurs, they were unemployment-induced entrepreneurs because they were not getting jobs, so they became entrepreneurs. Whereas entrepreneurs should be a person who likes to become an entrepreneur. It's a different thing that they are successful, but it was not their basic liking. But if an intelligent person goes in any profession, he would like to succeed in that particular profession. Poverty, the disparities are there. If they cannot be removed, nature has not given, like all five fingers are of different size, all people are different types. Somebody wants to work more, somebody wants to work less. Somebody wants to work hard, somebody wants to work less hard. Somebody wants to relax. So a person who works hard, who wants to earn money, a person who wants to work for 10 hours or 12 hours and earn more money, and a person does not work and works only for 5 hours. So naturally the economic disparities have to be there. What we have to do is, we should try to overcome the system which lead to the disparities. But people will have the disparities. God has not given everybody the same. So we have to look at the poverty issue in a very serious manner, and distribution of income and wealth. And now the sustainability about the agriculture. The agriculture has got so many issues, and there also MNCs are there, MNEs are there. They are doing a lot of innovation on the different varieties of the seeds, and UPO is a agreement under which they are doing it. India also, we have got a Farmers Breeders Rights Act. Then sustainability of the industry. Industry, we are talking about it, but how much we are really doing about it? We talk about the sustainability in the industry. We have got so many systems of pollution control, and they should go green and all that, but to what extent it is possible? They have to have their own economic considerations. These economic considerations need or can be suitably influenced by the fiscal policies, taxation policies, and fiscal incentives, which is not being done the world over at present. The political maturity. The political maturity is not there because politics, as I said earlier, politics is art of gaining power, craft of retaining the power. All political parties anywhere in the world, they compromise so much on the real issues. And what is happening in India in past couple of months, where the former Chief Minister of UP is going in sometimes, and then Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha bargaining for something. Are these the issues we should be, is it the maturity of the politicians? Politicians are absolutely working in their absolute vested interest, most of them. They have to be more mature. The political systems should be more sustainable. In a democracy, what is the percentage of people who are voting? The percentage of people who are voting is only, say, about 60%, 57%, 58%, out of which there are so many candidates. The person who gets elected, what is the percentage of votes he gets? 12%. Is it a majority? So we have to evolve more suitable systems for for democracies, which becomes a really better system. We have to do more research, we have to come out with it. Then sustainable economic development. Economic development, I think I don't have to elaborate because everybody has been talking about it, everybody knows about it, everybody understands it, everybody talks about it. Now, one thing which I would like to say that social science research is, the issues are very complex. Gender abuse, child abuse, safety of the elderly. Every fortnight, every month we find that some old couple or old person, single survivor, has been murdered in Chittaranjan Park or Malviya Nagar, Vasant Kunj or somewhere in national capital. There is a need for having the safety of the elderly. I am working out something on the geriatrics and some model we are building now. The democracy versus poor. If 70 or 80% people are poor, in democracy, all the policies get direct towards them because they get the votes. They are the vote banks. The developed countries, when they became developed from underdeveloped at some point of time more than 200 years back, when they were in the phase of development, they did not have the democracy as we have. There, the voting rights were only to very privileged people, not to all the masses who were very poor. And they could afford to have the right policies. apart from the benefit of the colonization, they had the benefit. But we have to look into it that how we have to educate poor people not to let carried away by the temptations of the politicians, which they do at the time of elections or something more. In India, 85,000 crore rupees loans were written off in the UPA 1 last year of the election. That was the election budget.